like to thank everyone for being here. Most of you know that my name's Christina, and I'm the director of Julie Nation Academy. And I'd just like to thank you for being here at this special event and help us celebrate Julie's 50th year. And we're so happy to have her here. And I will give her the mic. Thank you.
Every time I hear that word 50, I think, I just can't be this old. You know? First of all, it's a real pleasure, and it is so special to me that Miss California is here. She is lovely, and she was lovely 5 years ago when she was in our training. She is so accomplished. I'm going to share a short bio with you very shortly. But I did want you to know how the day kind of flows. Catherine will speak for 20 minutes or so, and then she'll open it up for questions. I've asked her to actually share a little bit about Miss Sonoma County and Miss California because it's a fabulous scholarship program. Any questions that you might have of her, please just ask them, and we'll get a mic to you, okay? Afterwards, which won't be too long, Catherine will step behind the backdrop into the social media booth, and we ask that you use your phones, get a picture with her. She'd like to sign her photo for you personally. You will have that on your phone for social media, and have fun with it. She's very relaxed. She can stay, and anybody who wants a picture with her can actually get one. And after we start that, because she can only take a picture with one person at a time, we are going to do a free runway workshop with our Kaylee, you can raise your hand, Kaylee. And that is so that everybody you all know who you are, our new students can join in, have a little posture and walking workshop with some music, while behind the stage, Catherine is having a good time with photos. I'd like to thank Jeff for being here on sound, Mark, who is doing our video, Tony, who helps set up all the time, my dear friend. And I want to thank not only Kaylee, but Elijah, can you raise your hand, who's doing anything we want her to do. And especially Eddie Cotillion, who's come all the way from San Francisco, who actually has been working very closely with Miss California and who's been a friend of mine for 20 years, whatever you want to say, Eddie. And of course, Catherine's mom. So I'd like you to know that Catherine came into the program, like all of you, with a great attitude about personal growth. She actually has achieved so many of her goals, and so I don't miss one. I'm going to share that she's actually the first Miss California that actually lived in Windsor while she was growing up, and she was crowned for Miss Sonoma County, where she was the distinguished, it's the outstanding teen that she was crowned for in 2014. And she has a 4.0 cum laude as a graduate at the University of Southern California, class of 2021. She has a BA degree in International Relations, Global Business, and a minor in piano performance. And during her time at the university, she gained extensive experiences working and serving as ambassador to both the USC and the United States through programs like Global Fellows in Taiwan, a study abroad student in Siberia, Russia, and Miss Los Angeles Chinatown in Hong Kong. It's just impressive. The world is her vision. She has built a personal lifestyle, and I actually wrote these down and put them on my mirror at home, Catherine. She actually has a personal lifestyle founded on pillars of fitness, fashion, food, and finance. Isn't that wonderful? The 4 words that are very powerful. She is actually going to speak to us today on her platform for Miss America, Be a Champion of Courage. Without further ado, can you give her a warm welcome?
Well, thank you, Julie, for that very kind introduction. But hi, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I am so honored to not just serve as your Miss California for this year, but also be a local girl, a Windsor girl. And I kind of wanted to just stand up here and kind of share with you about my personal journey. I was taking a look at the brochure earlier, and the first thing that I saw on personal development wasn't this idea of modeling or acting or becoming an influencer. It was about building personal confidence, which I think is your #1 resource and the biggest component towards building your personal brand. So I started off, probably like many of you, to challenge yourself to build your confidence. I was a very shy and awkward 14-year-old with honestly the worst stage fright possible. I played piano and I loved doing ballet, but I never loved standing up in front of an audience with a microphone and try to tell them my story. But needless to say, my parents were incredibly wonderful and said, you know what, one day you're going to have to talk to real people. So they signed me up for my first ever program in Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen, a program that many of you guys, I think many of the girls in here, should be quite familiar with. But I came into that program honestly with quite a few misperceptions. I thought pageantry was all about just that one day where you got to walk around in a beautiful gown and kind of just showcase, you know, your appearance, your outer appearance. But what I came to realize through that program, through all of the rehearsals and going through the appearances, was the first and foremost goal of that organization was to build a young woman's confidence and her ability to be an ambassador to her community. So at that time, my platform, you could say, was about making a difference. I really wanted to show that young people, 14-year-olds, could definitely make a difference in their community, whether it was through community service projects, engaging with our local elected officials, or even in events like this, just to highlight the businesses and the communities that we grew up in. And then flash forward to 2017, I graduated from Maria Carrillo High School, having gone through the Julie Nation Academy, and I would say it was one of the most monumentally transformative experiences of my life, because to be honest, when I grew up, I always looked at the beautiful catalogs in Coddingtown Mall, Macy's, all of the high fashion magazines, and I said I could never, ever, ever do that. I never saw someone who looked like myself, and I never believed that I had the ability to, you know, model or frankly represent an entire state. But lo and behold, fate was pretty kind, and in 2017, I graduated from Maria Carrillo High School, went to the University of Southern California, and that journey really kick-started when I entered into the program of Miss Los Angeles Chinatown. I would say, again, pageants, there is a misperception that, you know, young women just kind of stand there and look beautiful, but over time, I think these programs have really changed to emphasize on the idea that a young woman is capable of being an ambassador. So not only did I get to experience this idea of being an ambassador to a city like Los Angeles, but I also got to celebrate my heritage as an Asian American. But I would say this journey has not been filled without its fair share of challenges. In 2017, as many of you may have experienced, I lost my home and my hometown in the tragic Tubbs fire. And for a lot of local people, that really hits home. But trying to explain that to someone who doesn't come from Northern California, who doesn't come from Sonoma County, it's very hard for them to resonate with what that actually feels like, that complete sense of utter loss. And so that was probably the most challenging 2 months going into my university experience. And 1 month after I found out about the news of losing my home, I was actually diagnosed right here in our local Kaiser Permanente with something called Hashimoto's disease. And I went from someone being so incredibly active and, going for 8 hours straight, exercising, swimming, dancing, playing piano, going and hanging out with my friends, to someone unable to even maybe walk to the entrance that we all came through here today without feeling like I needed to black out. So 2017 was definitely a roller coaster of a lot of emotions and a lot of challenges. But I realized that there were kind of 3 key lessons that I learned in that one very short time frame. The first was that my health is my #1 priority, hence why one of the 4 F's in my personal brand is fitness and food. Because while I had an incredible doctor to help me regulate my condition with Hashimoto's disease, I realized that the only person that could truly emotionally and physically heal myself was me. And the second was this idea of having an incredible support system. I see a lot of wonderful parents sitting in the audience today, so I applaud you for supporting your kids in all of their dreams and endeavors. And my mom is actually standing in the back, and I call her my wonderful Miss California momager. She does anything and everything, and I think she's just been such a huge enabler in my experiences of going from being super incredibly shy to someone now about to head to Miss America. And the third was this idea that every single day I had a choice of choosing courage or fear. And instead of letting all of those tragedies define me, I decided that I was going to make a difference for my life. I was going to become that superhero that I always wanted to find in someone else, and I was going to become my own champion of courage. So now, as Miss California, I just realized, I did the calculations yesterday, I think I've done over 147 appearances in the past 4.5 months. So needless to say, there's been a lot of caffeine and a lot of napping, not really sleeping. But it's been so wonderful because I have the opportunity to not just touch a community like Sonoma County or San Francisco, where I now reside, but I get to go across LA, Orange County, San Diego, Fresno, Visalia, all over California to speak to young kids about finding and harnessing their inner superhero and giving them practical skill sets to recognize how to be an advocate, how to be authentic, and how to be audacious. I've also been very lucky to have really focused on this idea of building a business mindset. When I'm not doing my shiny hat and sash-bearing job, I am actually working full-time as a private wealth analyst. And so coming from corporate finance, it's taught me a lot about being a young woman, standing up for herself in an environment where I quite literally work with 13 males, and the nearest female is all the way on the other side of the floor. So needless to say, it's a very different world from Miss America and Miss California. But I think it's taught me a lot about how to engage with people and how to get them to trust you. Because when you're working with tens of millions of dollars every single day, it takes a lot for a client to place their faith into a young, fresh college graduate to make sure they're managing their money properly. But I think those skill sets have really carried through with me to my role as Miss California in building a brand that a lot of corporations that you might know, so Allbirds, Ghirardelli, a number of even international brands that I've been able to partner with, have all really fed into this idea of being able to tell a story very authentically. And so that kind of helped to build my own personal brands based on fitness, fashion, food, and finance. And I will say, I kind of threw fashion in there as a bit of we'll just see how this goes, see what happens, because I really loved my experience at Julie Nation, but I felt like I was not confident or enough, or maybe not mature enough at that time to really leverage all of the lessons that I've learned. But over time, throughout Miss California, I have surprisingly done an alarming number of photo shoots and, high fashion events. I was actually just emceeing my second ever Italian couture show with the brand Ivaro Italia. Very full circle moment, but I was first approached by them when I was still Miss San Francisco, and it was just 1 month into the job, and they said, I know you don't know us, but would you like to MC a fashion show? And I had zero experience with anything related towards MCing or how to say proper fashion terms in Italian, but they really took a leap of faith, and ever since then they have been an incredible sponsor and partner and family that I've been able to rely on. So quite a few of my wardrobe pieces going into Miss California were supplied by them. And then now as Miss California, I got to come back for their Spring/Summer 2023 collection. So it was just an incredible full circle moment. But I think just that comes to show just one tiny, tiny example of when you open yourself up to the possibility and you really put yourself out there. I think this idea of being a champion of courage for all of the prospective actors, actresses, models, and wannabe influencers, I think it really is just this idea that always put your most authentic foot forward, because that's how brands relate to you. If they wanted to do advertising, they could put something on a billboard. But I think when you're able to infuse your personality into it, brands are much more inclined to reach out to you. And I would not even be afraid to just cold call or cold email or cold DM someone. That's been an incredible marketing strategy of mine. But I will keep it short and sweet, but if you have any questions at all about my time as Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen, going to Miss California, or just about this confidence-building world, I'm an open book. Oh my gosh, great question. Coming from someone who still suffers from stage fright every single day, I don't think that will ever leave you, really, that sense of, I don't know, shakiness and nervousness. But what I've come to learn through talking with a lot of my mentors is if you're nervous, that simply means you care a whole lot about it. If you're not nervous, then what is the point of showing up, right? And I actually had the opportunity this past summer to go to the LA Fashion Week. And again, another example of where I never thought I'd have that possibility open up to me, or that door open to me. But I think, again, it just comes to show that, you know, you've worked so hard to get to where you are now. The opportunity to go to Los Angeles and show your talent is just the next level up. So don't even think about showing up as your best performance, but just show up as your most consistent performance. And that's definitely a mentality I carry with me at the Miss California stage and then going to Miss America. So I am actually headed all the way to Connecticut, so Chile, Connecticut, December 8th, and Miss America will be held from December 12th, 13th, and then finals will be live streamed on the 15th. And a fun fact, this is the 101st year that they've held the Miss America program. And for young women out there, you can win up to and over $100,000 in college scholarship. So I think it's an incredible dent in your tuition, and I know your parents will definitely thank you for that. Absolutely, and that is such a cool and unique talent. And so I'm definitely want to talk to you afterwards about becoming Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen. But I think music is probably one of the most difficult talents to master. You know, I think singing, it's an incredible talent as well, but there's something so raw and vulnerable about playing a single instrument on a huge stage, right? As a pianist, I have no accompaniment, so I have nothing to cover up the mistakes that I have. But I think it's also an incredible way to show authentic, raw authenticity and expression of yourself. For my talent piece, I chose Fantasy Impromptu by Frédéric Chopin. I'm a classically trained pianist and have been playing for over, I think, 16 to 17 years now. And, you know, I could choose the most difficult song if I wanted to, or the most popular pop culture song, but I wanted a song that really represented the essence of who I am. So I chose a romantic era pianist and a piece that really demonstrates this idea of, you know, passion and almost like anxious and excitement. And it's also a piece that's very close to my heart because my piano teacher actually handwrit the back half portion of it on a piece of scratch paper. So I really challenge you to think about like the piece that really embodies like who you are. And hopefully I will get to hear that one day on the Miss California stage. Ooh, fantastic question. So I think the biggest thing was helping to build my personal confidence, because I had mentioned before, this idea of modeling or acting was never really in the playing books for me. It was always a pipe dream for me. But you know, I walked into the Julie Nation door, and instead of getting, you know, criticism or evaluated for how tall I was or, you know, how my physical appearance was, they just said, you know what is your goal? How do you want to harness that? And so I think, you know, Julie does a fantastic job and her team does a fantastic job of harnessing potential. A fun story, I've been able to work with a wonderful Eddie over here, and we got to put on a very editorial Vogue photo shoot with some beautiful pieces from a fashion collector named Karen Caldwell. And, you know, it gave me the essence of something that you might see in Harper Bazaar or the September edition of Vogue, and I never thought that I could ever see myself in that way. And I think it's so empowering when you're able to transform from how you see yourself into how some other people might want to kind of push the bounds of your personal, how you display your personality. So he definitely brought out my most confident, most sassy self, but it was so much fun, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, it's, you know, my time at Julie Nation has definitely, as a graduate, I've kind of passed through, but it just comes to show that the family here is always here for you, and they will go move high heaven and the biggest ocean possible to help you succeed. Ooh, great question. So, as I mentioned before, I work in private wealth management. I've been very, very lucky that my company has been receptive to me actually taking a leave of absence so I can focus on Miss California being my full-time job for now. If you can't tell, it's pretty involved. But my plan is actually to use all of my scholarship dollars that I've earned at the local, state, and national level to eventually go to grad school. My goal is to go into international business diplomacy. I studied international relations, global business, and I love this idea of being a cross-culture bridge between two different countries. So my goal is to go to the Schwartzman Scholar Program. So for any soon-to-be college students or applying to college, definitely keep that program on the horizon because it is a tremendous opportunity to you know, straddle two cultures, straddle two ways of thinking, and straddle two different business worlds. All righty, well, I will pass it back to Julie.
Thank you, Catherine. It's just so wonderful to just to have you here as a role model. And I speak for myself and everyone here, correct? Just a wonderful role model. Thank you for living the life that you're living. Yes, and I have to pay credit to your mother. I mean, we have a fan club in our family, and I see it here. I see students like Jamie, who came here many years ago and whose daughter Devin is with us. This is like your fan club is your family. So thank you very much, parents, children, everybody, grandparents, mine. So we're going to let Catherine escape to the back where the banner is. And Elijah is going to kind of guide us with your phones for social media. She'll sign a photo and personalize that so all of you can just trot on back there. Eddie is gracing us with some photos, I think with me, staff, whomever. And then those of you who are wanting, there's about half of you out there that'll do the runway workshop. So Kaylee is going to hop up and start that so that you all have something to do for a few minutes. And I think my dear friend Mary Riley, whose daughter came here 30 years ago. Gosh, I'm losing track, Mary. It's wonderful. Nothing but a heart for you to be here. So Let's give her one more round of applause. Yay. And we'll see you on stage or in the back.